voter turnout. And I say huge. We won. What happened here in New Hampshire in terms of an enthusiastic and aroused electorate, people who came out in large numbers, that is what will happen all over this country.
The pundits and so-called experts will be dicing and slicing up New Hampshire primary results for a lot longer than just this November. It was historic in so many ways, maybe even disturbing to those who believe they always have all the answers. And this with the realization that winning there is not always an automatic road to the White House, but it certainly does make the travel a whole lot smoother. There's a simple question to ask about the primary results, so let's go ahead and tee it up. Welcome back the former veteran New Hampshire broadcast journalist who also served in the administrations of Governor John Sununu and President George H.W. Bush. Ed Lecius joins us once again. Ed, always a pleasure to have you on the show. So let's ask the simple question right up front. What happened? What was it that made Donald Trump such an overwhelming winner, and made everybody say, it's got to be Bernie Sanders?
Well, as I said last week, I thought Trump would win in a squeaker, but in a week, his team on the ground here was able to put together a ground game, something he hadn't had. And you add that to the voter frustration on both sides of the aisle, and the fact that Bernie Sanders was striking a chord not only with the liberals, but the polling showed that Hillary had a trust problem, and she wasn't connecting with the young, and you have what we got yesterday.
All right, now, let me go back to last week here, because you and I both know as journalists, we always put ourselves on the record. Last week, we did ask your prediction on New Hampshire, and honestly, it seems like you didn't give Donald Trump much of a chance. Here's what you said.
Donald Trump might be surprised when he wakes up on Wednesday morning. I just don't think it'll be Trump. Could be Rubio, Kasich Christie, and then Cruz.
I'm going to give this to you because I was sort of on your side a little bit here, looking at a lot of the numbers here, thinking that it just couldn't be that big. So what was it that made the New Hampshire voter go and said, no matter what the two Eds think or anybody else, it's got to be Donald Trump? Is it as simply stated as saying that it was the immigration issue and a lot of these things that Trump has campaigned on that made the live free or die state say, that's us? That
was part of it, and I think his willingness to just shoot from the hip and say what is on his mind. And what's on his mind and some of the things he has said, the way that a lot of the people up here are feeling. And like I say, he did not have that feel me, touch me campaign that we kind of demand from candidates up here with our retail politics. And in a week, they turned it around. I mean, he did 5 events in one day, which was highly unusual for him. And I think all that momentum going forward, and the fact that at the debate Saturday night, he was pretty well behaved. Rubio tanked it and finally admitted to that today. You know, if you take and flip-flop Cruz and Christie, I was kind of in the ballpark, or like John Kasich said yesterday, he did beat Donald Trump in Dixville Notch, so I guess I did pretty good calling Kasich number 2.
Is it as simply put here as also saying that with all these other candidates, the people of New Hampshire, they, like everybody else, are setting the tone here for the rest of the country. They're proving it. We don't want anybody from the inside right now. We don't care what you've got to say. Tell us anything at this point, but just don't be somebody who's got a Washington, D.C. address at the end of your business card here. That's what really sets it apart.
That's true, and that is certainly a large part of it. Listening and reading some of the things as people came out of the polls yesterday and reading the media up here today. I mean, the headline in our local papers say the outsiders are in. And right now it's not in vogue to be from Washington, D.C.
Governor Kasich moved up, had a great ground game. Do you believe that what he got from New Hampshire, that boost right there, will last? Because there doesn't seem to be a lot of people saying that he did real well in New Hampshire, but he's not going to last after South Carolina.
Well, he didn't have the same operation in place down in South Carolina, but it'll be interesting to see where the Christie folks go. Governor Christie has stepped back, where those people go. And I noticed earlier on Facebook, the crowd that turned out for Kasich's first event down in South Carolina filled the room. And there was also an equally large crowd standing in line waiting to go into a Rubio event. So how he does in South Carolina determine what happens from there. The other the big bump came to Jeb Bush. He spent a lot of money. He brought his mom in at the 11th hour, and that certainly resonated, I think, with voters and resulted in his coming from the back of the pack to up front. So, as I said, Christie stepped back. What's Fiorina going to do? I mean, she's taking up space, some people say. She says she's in it till the end. And Dr.
I
Ben
think, quite
Carson,
frankly, she might have just hit the end, though, Ed. Let's be honest.
Well,
I
think so.
She's done.
And Ben Carson, he didn't even hang around for his party last night. He checked out of the hotel and headed south, and his supporters showed up at the hotel in Nashua.
All right. I got about 30
gone.
seconds left. I need to ask you on the left. 30 seconds. Did the people of New Hampshire go for Bernie Sanders because they know him and they love him, or because they think Hillary Clinton's just too big a liar?
The lying factor is the big thing with the exit polls.
And that's what people are focusing on at this point. Do you think that in any way possible, your experience, does she come back for this, or is it just at the point right now where Bernie Sanders has got her on the run and he's just too good on the ground game?
I think Joe Biden's in the bullpen warming up.
Wait a minute. You really think that Joe Biden, like around Super Tuesday?
Well, for the good of the party, for the good of the country, he'll step up.
Well,
and if not him, they'll come up with another candidate. But I think
Michael Bloomberg is watching too. Let's face it this way: Bloomberg and Biden are sitting there. John Kerry, I heard somebody's name. Oh my goodness, it's all just part of the political game.
I think Hillary got swamped last night, and that was it for her.
And she did.
And 10% or single digits. But 22 points, it's over.
We're going to see what happens moving on. Ed Lecius, thanks so much for joining us, my friend. We appreciate your time. Stay with us. The fastest 60 minutes in news. The Hardline continues.